Welcome, everybody, to Meet the Pressers with Clint Macro and Matt Mallory. We're here at the NRA Annual Meeting 2026 in Houston, Texas, at the Voices of the Second Amendment area, specifically at the Meet the Pressers Gun Freedom Radio Studio of Liberty.
Ooh, that was a mouthful.
Yeah. I did that really well yesterday, and this morning, the first two interviews, I completely crapped the bed on it. So I'm getting back into my rhythm. I've had enough coffee now.
Yeah. Okay.
So Matt, would you please introduce our special guest?
Absolutely. John Correia, active self-protection, a genius of mind, and
stop.
He's like, stop. He's like, stop. Something I got to say, and I use this in my seminars, and I give you credit for it. Good, moral, prudent people. Did I get it right?
Good, sane, sober, moral, and prudent.
Okay,
is what
there's
we
a
talk
couple
about.
words I didn't have in there.
Yeah,
good, moral, prudent people is usually what I say. So I got to refresh it. But I love that. That's good.
Yeah, we like to talk about good. People's hearts are set on doing a good thing, not self-centered, but other-centered. Yep. Sane. Sanity is when your map of the world matches the world as it actually is. Right. The closer your map of reality matches reality, the more sane you are. Sober. Now that doesn't mean you don't drink. That means that you're well thought through. When somebody is sober-minded, it means they connect outcomes to behaviors.
You're not a 2.0 functioning drunk.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can be sober-minded and still have a drink now.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Moral means that their decisions are based on a solid code of ethics.
Like that.
And prudent means that how many times have we seen this, right? As you get a little older, you realize that not everything that I can do, I should do.
Yeah.
And so I want to do the prudent thing, not always just the thing that I can do. So a prudent person is a person who takes the best course of action.
That's awesome. And I think, I always like to bounce back to your way, your thought, your way of thinking, kind of level-headed. Yeah. Because, when I was younger, I was a hothead.
Sure.
And my wife was the more calm one. And then as I get older, I'm the calm one, and she's the little bit more
she's passionate
one. Yeah. It happens when around your 50s. So
my wife's a hothead, but that's because of menopause.
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant in the 50s. So yeah, we definitely bounce back to that. And you watched 50,000 hours of encounters.
Yeah, 50,000 or so gunfights that I've looked through and analyzed. By this point, we got about almost 5,000 of them analyzed on the main channel. So it's a weird thing. I never meant to be this guy, and yet here I am.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how God just kicks us through doors now and then, and you end up somewhere you didn't think you were going to be?
Like, but I don't want to, Lord.
Yeah, I said in a previous interview, I was a vocational pastor for 14 years.
Yep.
And my joke is, seminary was a perfect preparation for being a YouTuber, and B, for being an educator in the defensive space. Perfect for court. I do court work now some as an expert witness in use of force. And it was perfect preparation for court work. And people are like, really? Yeah, really.
Nice. With the comments, you mentioned that. And I think a good rule of thumb, I'm assuming you stick to, is like stay out of the comments.
Well,
like us.
I recommend for people in general, stay out of the comments on the internet, because the internet is stupid.
Yeah, for sure.
And there are a lot of bad actors and a lot of trolls and a lot of bots, right? So that are kind of designed to inflame. So I tell folks stay out of it. That said, at Active Self-Protection, we are in our comment section a lot, not looking to fight with people, but looking for people with earnest questions.
Yeah. So you want to make sure you're correcting people too if you're giving wrong information in your comments.
Or somebody goes, well, wait a minute, in this other video you said this, but in this video you said that. Okay, but let's clarify. There's a difference in scenario here. There's a difference in this. Or somebody said, well, you said this and that's wrong. I said that. I don't remember saying that. Let me go listen to that. Okay, so that's not what I said. Right. It's interesting that you heard that, but that's not what I said. So
I'll say that in my class and be like, so, if I say today A and tomorrow I say B, call me out on it. Let's talk about it. We're humans. We make mistakes. I'll figure out what mistake you made. Everybody will laugh.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely, there's videos and things that I put out that I've now maybe rethought a particular technique or have a better way to explain a topic. Yeah. And, I look back through some of my catalog and it's like, well, should I take that down? I'm like, well, no, there's nothing unethical, immoral, or dangerous about what I was saying. There is a better way now, I believe. And so a lot of times I'll give people an opportunity to, have that discussion and say, well, here's why I thought, and here's why I think now. And I think it's important too, especially as educators, to have an open environment for our students to challenge us because maybe there is a better way and I haven't seen it yet.
Well, and I mean, listen, how long have you been putting out content?
10-ish years.
Yeah, okay.
Well, maybe
So,
not quite 10.
If you were the same guy today that you were 10 years ago, you've wasted a decade.
You haven't grown.
Yeah, that's true.
You've literally not grown in a decade.
Oh, I've grown.
Yeah. So, the thing is that should you be better? Should you know more? Should you have, if you can't say in whatever arena that in 10 years you changed in understanding, then you've stagnated. Like, you guys have both been married a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Are you the same husband today that you were 10 years ago?
No,
I hope not.
No, certainly not.
I hope not. I'm not. Hopefully I'm better. And you look back 10 years and you go, gosh, if I could go back 10 years, I would have handled that circumstance differently.
That's interesting. I had that very same conversation yesterday with a friend. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
So, we should expect that as well. So as you go back through your stuff, if there's anything that I was teaching that I would say today put somebody at risk, well, then I'll remove that because nope, that's not true.
Yeah.
If it's simply, no, I did think this, I've changed my perspective on that, I'll leave that as a historical record.
Yeah.
No, I've changed from that to this. Now I will put maybe in the comment section and pin a comment and go, here's an update.
Yeah, right.
I think a little differently now. Here's why. But leaving that there for that historical growth is, I think, a good thing.
I think we can all probably agree with this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like what I teach, I try to practice in real life.
Of course.
So if in real life, I
Lead
find
by
them,
example.
Yeah, exactly. And if I find them, and what kind of a hypocrite? Not to mention training scar am I building? If I'm teaching one way and doing something different, that's not going to be consistent for me to be a good defender of my family and myself.
100%.
Mind wise, tools wise, all that. So if I find I do something different in public, I'm like, wait a minute, I either got to change what I'm doing because it's not what I'm teaching, or I got to change what I'm teaching because it doesn't match what I'm doing.
Agreed.
Yeah,
you're your own first student, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, on that line too, is as an educator who teaches concealed carry, and we want to encourage our fellow Americans to arm themselves and be armed anywhere they can do so legally. I know a lot of instructors that will travel and they'll come to a show like this or something, and it's really inconvenient to travel with a gun.
Yeah.
And I make sure that I carry my gun absolutely everywhere, even if I have to jump through extra hoops and it adds me maybe an extra 100 miles to my route so I can circumnavigate a unfriendly state. But I think that's important that we do that.
Sure.
If we're trying to get our fellow Americans in our classes to carry as often as they can, well, then we need to lead by example.
Yeah. I got a funny story with Tom Gibbons. First time I met him and had a coffee with him in Florida, I was down there teaching, and I walk in and he looks at me, he goes, "You ain't got no tattoos, you ain't got facial hair." Maybe he didn't say ain't, but he goes, "Probably don't have any guns on you either, do you?" I go, "Actually, I got two." He's like, "All right, you're not that bad."
Okay, all right. Sounds about like Tom.
And I said to him, I go,
You should have said.
I said, "I shaved for you." I said,
That sounds like Tom. That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I get on planes all the time, travel places.
Yeah.
Commercial aircraft is a pain in the butt to travel with a gun. It's not hard, but it's cumbersome. But I don't care. I'm going where I need to be armed. The bad guy's only going to tell you about your incident at the last minute. And so, and that's also, this is the first NRA that I've gotten to fly the little plane. How do you know somebody's a pilot?
How do you know someone's a pilot?
Yeah, don't worry, they'll tell you. So I flew the little plane in, which makes it easier. So,
cool.
So are you allowed to let yourself have a gun in your carry-on?
So private air, general aviation is just like driving your car.
Yeah.
So if you can have it in your car, you can have it in your airplane.
That's wonderful that the government allows you.
They don't do cavity searches.
No cavity surgeon, no security at the airport in terms of those things, and I carried, just like normal, just like I'd carry in the car. So, flew here from Phoenix and stopped in the middle of Texas. We flew through New Mexico, stopped in Texas. We'll do the opposite on the way home. And
What kind of plane?
It's a Piper Arrow.
Okay.
I'm in a club. I don't have that kind of money to own a plane. Owning an airplane is stupid
So
expensive.
you should do like a once every year, high exclusive, big money event, and it could be learning to present a firearm from a seated position, concealed, wearing a seatbelt inside of a plane.
Inside of your airplane.
I knew where that was going.
Yeah, we just, the funny one we just did on the second channel. I didn't do it on the big channel, but a guy who crashed his Mustang through the security on the general aviation side of a major airport, and then was trying to get into people's airplanes while they were in them.
Wow.
He was in a drug-fueled haze, drugs and alcohol, and had just gone to an AA meeting.
That's a very specific
super niche environment, right? Like, so
Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, stay in school, don't do drugs. And so they caught him. Okay, that's all fine. But I'm like, man, he could have got chopped up by a propeller so fast.
Oh wow, yeah.
Sucked into a turbine.
And also, how many people are thinking I'm jumping in pre-flight in my Cessna, and I might have to shoot a guy over here, But I do carry, just in those circumstances, not usually thinking about it in the plane, but getting out and going to lunch.
Well, I think we learn from other people's misfortunes, if you will, right? We look at the news, we look at stuff. I hate watching the news. I in some sense, I love watching your channel, but the content's like, you're like,
yeah.
But we learn from that. I mean, look at, you're educated. You made a class about like what not to do, what works, what doesn't work, as far as hit the mag, knocking the mag and slap, rack, and roll. All that comes from that. The body cams, dash cams, surveillance videos that we could use to educate people based on what we have technology-wise. So yeah, we got to ebb and flow and adapt to that.
I do have a workflow question for you.
Okay.
The amount of footage that you look through. Do you have a schedule? Like, I have my cup of coffee and then I watch 10 videos, and like, how do you manage all that and still have quality of life? Because it's so easy to just, before you know it, 15 hours goes by after you're watching stuff, or I'll do it tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah. So the beauty of self-employment that I know you're aware of is that you never clock in.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, the hell is that you never clock out.
That's right. Yeah.
And as a self-employed
that's
person,
what a wife would certainly bring up too.
yeah, as a self-employed person, you can pick any time you want to work your 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
And so when people say, "Oh, John, how do you maintain balance?" and I'm like, "You use this word like it applies to my life."
Yeah.
And I don't think it applies.
No.
So I am a bit of a workaholic and a bit of like I consider this event to be days off for me. Like I'm away from home. So am I working right now? Okay, sure. But
not as much as you would at home.
Not as much as I would at home. So and then also like I showed this to somebody else today. So like to say, John, you're watching like 10 gunfights a day. Well, okay, look, this is my social media feed. So here comes Instagram up, and oh look, a gunfight. And then the next one that comes up is somebody getting in a fight. And then the next one here is somebody having a gunfight. And then here it's cops having a gunfight.
And that's not even your page. That's just like
that's just
the
my
public.
feed. This is just Instagram is like Correia wants to see every gunfight or fist fight that exists. And that's my Facebook feed. That's my YouTube channel.
So you don't get to see many cat videos.
No, you get what you interact with. And so I will literally get up in the morning. And like many of us do, you have your social media lounge time when you get up first thing in the morning. You know what I mean? And I'll literally have watched 10 gunfights before I leave my bedroom. So it's not. I try to shut it down in the evenings. So I try to only work until 6 or 6:30, and then I'm the cook in our house.
Oh,
my
that actually is a wonderful break.
Yeah. And so I have to be done to go cook dinner for the family. So my wife and I, 2 of our kids still live at home. They're adults, but they still live at home.
What's the favorite dish that you make that your family would request most often?
My kids and my wife love my cooking. I love to cook. So my wife was a professional ballerina, and so like many professional ballerinas, had a lifetime of anorexia to deal with. And so she did about 15 years ago now. Finally got a real handle on that. And in my world, I was like, okay, how do I help? Well, she's like, and she lives with ADHD. And so we didn't know that at the time. And she's like, I hate cooking because I just can't get it right. And I was like, okay, well, why don't I take that? Like, I can take that. So I learned how to cook in order to help my wife to overcome struggles with anorexia. And now she's deals with her ADHD way better. But I was like, well, I can cook. So they like when I cook. Like anything I cook, my family's like, yay, cooking. Like many men, I love to smoke meats. I have a pellet grill out in the backyard, so they love it when I put meat on the smoker.
I think that's almost a primal instinctive thing.
Yeah, I mean, take a big hunk of meat, put on fire,
Medium rare was what my steak was last night.
Perfecto.
Yeah, right?
Perfecto.
Right? So speaking of, at home and in defense, something recently happened.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I had a home invasion in the house a couple weeks ago, which was a little crazy. And thankfully, nobody got shot. So a guy climbed up onto my second floor balcony. There's no first floor access to it. So climbed up to my second floor balcony, spider monkeyed up there, found that there was a door unlocked there. I come to find out later that one of my adult children, there's a patio out there with some furniture, and they had sat out there with their friends. and then had to not lock the door on the way back in.
You don't even think that it's a second
Second
level
floor.
is much.
Now that's the door off my office. I should have checked it, before I went to bed. I didn't. Thankfully, though, my son was up at 1 o'clock in the morning playing video games with his friends downstairs. And so he heard all the external doors in the house have a chime alarm on them, and so he hears the chime go off, and he's like, wait, what? Looked in the downstairs. Nope, all those doors are closed. Mm-hmm. What? An upstairs door opens? So he grabbed a big knife. He's got a big bucket of knives because he's a 20-something-year-old man, and comes upstairs and sees a guy coming out of my office. And then all I heard is I just got woken up to a commotion out in the hallway. Mm-hmm. Now, in my world, my kids we've had a lot of mental health struggles with my kids. We made a lot of inpatient mental health trips. So that happening in my world almost always will be my children struggling with something. Somebody's having a crisis. Yeah. So showing up with a gun would have been a wildly inappropriate choice. Right. So I just jump out of bed and open my bedroom door like, what's going on? Is everything okay? And I see my son standing there with a big knife in his hand looking at a guy I don't recognize. Mm. And I hear from him, oh, my homie said I could be here. And I was like, I don't know who that guy is. Right. He don't know who that guy is. And so I just hollered at him, get the F out of my house. I need a gun. So ran over to the quick access safe. All the firearms in my house have to be secured at all times because of our family situation. Mm-hmm. So grab the fastest one to me was my handgun. That's my concealed carry gun in the quick access safe. So I grabbed that real fast. Took me maybe 10 seconds to get over, grab the gun, and get back. By then he had exited back out the door that he had come in. I'll tell you, man, there was a quick second there that I'm going for that guy. I'm going out there because I want to deal with him. And then whoa, time out. Everything I love is back here. Yep. Right. We're okay. Nope, I don't need anything out there. Yep. It's fine. And he literally jumped off the porch, and it's 12 feet. Oh. It didn't break anything. No. So my wife called the cops, called 911. Cops showed up. Took them 13 minutes. I realized after he had left that I'm standing out in the hallway on my second floor, naked as a jaybird. And so I'm like, hey, dear, would you give me a pair of shorts? Yeah. Told my son, sorry, son. Didn't mean to make you see that, but, such is life.
So the burglar scared you, and you scared
Yeah. Nobody wants to fight the naked guy.
No. I got stories on that.
Yeah.
Cops showed up, cleared the yards. He wasn't in the yards. We had the helicopter overhead for about 20 minutes. I knew at least one of the cops that showed up. I've got a lot of relationships with local PD.
Smart.
Phoenix PD is a big organization, but you know who the locals are who are working your beat.
And they know you.
Yep. So they were there for about 30 minutes, all secure. Gave me here's your case number, and we'll get back to you later.
That's great that you had that restraint, because I think too often people think the gun is to be used to shoot someone if you need to, when in fact it's to stop an attack or facilitate an escape or a combination.
Yeah, break contact, right?
Yeah, right. So that was wonderful.
Yeah, and in retrospect, I do wish that I had grabbed the shotgun. Because my concealed carry gun doesn't have a light on it. For outside the home, I've never seen a light needed. Home defense, it is needed. I had taken my nightstand handheld light that I always keep there, had gone into my pocket because this, which is my regular everyday light, I had taken out of my pocket to use on a night flight that I was on, and it got stuck in my pilot bag. And so then I was like, oh, shoot, I got dressed the next day. I didn't have a light in my pocket. So then I just grabbed my handheld off the nightstand and put it in my pocket.
That one's missing. Yeah.
So it was missing. So I wish I'd grabbed the shotgun that had a light on it. But just to have a little bit more ability to see out there. But that's kind of a small thing. I'm glad I didn't go out there. They actually caught the guy about 4 hours later. So we all went back to bed. And then about 5 o'clock in the morning, I heard the helicopter overhead again. And I was like, there's no way that dummy was dumb enough to go break into somebody else's house tonight. No, sure enough, he was. Wow. And so they caught him outside of that other house. They pepperballed the heck out of him, too. So we identified him. And I just got an email yesterday or Thursday from the district attorney's office that, here's the next, court date and all that. So
I think that whole situation, we always look at, Mike Tyson's saying everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Yeah, sure. And I always like to say that I don't care how Billy Badass you think I am, I can be beat.
Of course,
and
everybody can lose.
And I look at students in the class, everybody in this room can be beat.
Yeah.
Good guy has bad day, bad guy has good day. Beat. Chris Kyle's an example, right? So be nice to everybody.
Sure.
But be prepared for the Kraken to come out, right?
Well, and I think some people, I shared that story on our Facebook and on my Facebook, and some people were like, well, oh, you thought you'd be perfect. And I was like,
no,
I never said I would get an A+.
I was
really,
I was really impressed that you put that out there the way that you did, and made it a learning opportunity for everybody.
Sure.
You learn from it yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're flashlight. You're talking. You scare them away. Just being naked. You don't need the gun.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Making sure that the door's locked every night. Let me tell you that got added. The top floor door got added to the nightly checks. And I actually went and bought a faster quick access safe for my shotgun. So I have one, but the quick access safe that I have for the shotgun wasn't a top end one. And so it takes about 3 or 4 seconds to get into. And in that moment, I need gun. I just went for the fastest gun I had. So I've actually since bought, the reality is I have no relationship with them, but Hornady makes the really fast access ones. But they're expensive. Like the long gun one's like $400. And before I was like, $400? What are you kidding me? And guess what? The next day I was like, $400. Click, there you go.
That's it.
Yeah, I have a shot lock for my long gun because it keeps the trigger guard covered, and I can just take the AR out of it. But it is a little more complex than.
Well, and like my home defense shotgun, I've got a side saddle on it and a light on it, so it's a little thick. And so a lot of those, wall mounted, trigger guarded ones, they just don't work for me. I need one that's a little bit beefier. So, and I mean, my defense shotgun is kind of a bougie monster. So, it's a 1301 that's all langed out and backboard by Vancom.
Gucci Glock.
It's Gucci. It's got a Salvo 12 on it, so it's like 50 inches long. It's like a boat anchor.
Good. You can use it as a bat if you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. But let me tell you, that thing keeps a 6-inch pattern at 20 yards, and with flight control in it, and is hearing safe indoors.
I think we say too, we use our handguns to get to our long guns. I know when I'm on the job, I got my handgun on me. I got a long gun, I got an AR in my patrol car. In the house, shotguns and rifles that are staged. I think that's something that a lot of people, in New York State, in their pistol license, they'll have long guns typically for home defense, but the handgun's something that they will come to after, right? And if we look at, like Clint Smith says, handguns punch holes in people, rifles punch holes through people, shotguns take meat out of people.
I've never seen somebody shot with double-aught buck that did anything other than lay down. Never. And I don't care where you shoot them with double-aught. Like, I think that those multiple pellet simultaneous impacts do something like they like hard reset the nervous system. And I've seen people shot with handguns and rifles that kept doing what they were doing. Even fatal shots, they keep doing what they're doing. I have never seen somebody shot with double-aught buck that did anything but lay down.
It's kind of like stepping on that Lego in 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You just, everything you got up for, you forgot about for a brief moment.
Right?
It's that reset.
It's like,
ow.
Okay, wait a minute. Yeah. So my strong preference is the shotgun myself. But, and in a lot of areas, so like in New York State, you know what I mean? If I shoot somebody with an AR pattern rifle, and the local constabulary ain't gonna like that. And the news station, and I'm okay with that, but that's an issue. Shooting with what looks like Grandpa's duck gun, a lot of people have a lot more connection to that. You know what I mean?
And as we plan for our defense, we want to just stack the deck in our favor as much as we can. So that's definitely a consideration, especially in those anti-gun political climates. Yeah, certainly. So one thing that everyone can learn from this, and it costs you zero money, is lock your doors.
Yeah,
lock your doors.
Lock doors would have been. I mean, I think I live in a nice neighborhood. It's a gated community, for goodness sakes. And it still happens. So, and thankfully the guy was. I'm pretty sure I haven't got all the gouge yet. I haven't seen the toxicology report, but I think he was high. I think he was just coked out of his mind, doing stupid things. So,
one thing that may solve this in the future, and this is maybe something you can get involved with the legislature, if they would just make a law making breaking into someone else's house illegal, then I bet that would stop.
That should be fine. And I have had a couple people that were like, "Well, you should have shot him because he broke into somebody else's house, and so you're responsible for that." And I'm like, dude. Do you know how much of a pain it would have been for me to actually deal with having shot him?
And you might want to move the mental torment of it, right? I call it the 4 horses of apocalypse: criminal, civil, mental, and jury of public opinion. You get that third court, the Masada calls it.
Yep.
You don't want to have to do that if you don't have to do it. Right?
So much easier.
And you mentioned, you live in a gated community. It's a nice area.
Yeah.
And I like to say that bad things can happen at any time, any place, for a reason or for no reason at all.
Absolutely.
And so we can't just be like, not my circus, not my monkeys. Right.
It
can happen.
And it comes to you, and I'm really grateful. Actually, my whole family has dealt with it very well emotionally. They're great. I'm like, okay, I didn't even have an adrenaline dump afterwards. I just realized what's going on. I need a gun. Go get a gun. He's run out. I'm okay. All right, call the cops. And then by the time the cops got there, I'm like, all right, everybody's okay. okay, it worked out okay and nobody's harmed, and so it was all right. And you get a mental rep, great. What are some changes we can make that hopefully never happen again? I mean, it's the first time that's happened to me. I've been married for 30 years, lived on my own that whole time, you know what I mean? Yeah. And in 30 years, I've never had a home invasion. So, all right, that was a first. I hope I never have to deal with it again.
For sure.
But, okay, let's a little faster, quick access safe, right by the door. And that particular one, the thing that I like about it, I haven't done a video on it yet, has RFID tags that you can put on your watch band.
That makes it too.
So, and I wear a watch to bed to track my sleep. So then you just hit boop, okay, good, and in 1 second you've got a very capable long gun.
Yeah, I like to wear silly bracelets. And the last box I had a bracelet.
Yeah, there you go. So those kind of things. So that kind of stuff. All right, there's a little lesson. The door checks. We're always very serious downstairs, and I didn't think about the upstairs. Yeah. The upstairs doors too.
I did a church survey one time, and I'm standing by the door, and they had a big rock that they used to prop the door open. And I'm like, hey, I had my foot on. I'm like, so what? Anybody could break in here? And they're like, well, how? Why? I'm like, glass. And then they had a pallet literally leaning up against the wall, and I go, see that window up there that's open? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, and they're like, oh, well, they need a ladder. I'm like,
yeah, here we go.
Yeah. I mean, literally. So sometimes. Stepping back, something like happens, kind of reevaluate. But I think how it turned out is not a detriment, but a benefit to all your training. All the training you do, all the stuff you watch, how you respond to that's going to be in our training, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. And if we rep stuff and it's good stuff, it's not bad training scars, and we're going to be able to get through it a little bit better. Maybe not as much mental.
And I was ready in the moment. I mean, as I came back out the door with a gun in my hand, I was like, okay, if this guy is still in my house, he's going to end up getting shot. You know what I mean? Like, okay, this is what's going to have to happen.
Right.
I'm really proud of my son. I mean, he's the one who heard it and showed up and handled the problem in reality. So he's the hero of the story, and did an excellent job. And I'm super proud of him. And I mean, that kid's been training martial arts since he was 5 years old. So he's quite competent, quite prepared.
Big kid?
No, he's not a big man. I mean, he's actually a little shorter than me. He's like 5'9" and about $160. So he's not a big guy, but quite fit and veteran, and so he knows his way around. Wrestled in high school for 3 years, and so varsity level wrestler, and so he can handle his business. And he had a big old knife on him too. So you know what I mean? Like I was like, dude, I'm so glad that guy didn't come your way, because then you end up wrestling some weird meth head and end up killing him. And he's like, yeah, I was standing there going, okay, well, if he comes more, here we go. And, his my youngest's bedroom was right there. So, we're not going in there.
Coming to the aid of a third person.
So when I came back out with the gun, I was like, all right, if this guy's still here, he's either going to surrender or get shot. Thankfully, he had run off. So,
Well, I like the reserve. I'll say, just because the law says you may doesn't mean you must.
Right.
And the castle doctrine is a good example of that, right? You can defend yourself in your dwelling, but if you don't have to, self-preservation is both in our mindset and the bad guy, unless they want suicide or something, or they're not thinking straight on drugs. But
and of course, you only want to kill somebody as an absolute last resort, right? As a good person, you want to preserve life, and I don't want to kill somebody, and I do fight that sometimes in our comment sections. It's like, well, if they're doing that, then they deserve to die, and it's better. And I'm like, no, man, I want to.
It's a mental aspect.
Yeah, and I want to give somebody every opportunity to get their life right.
Right.
I don't want somebody to go meet their maker and have that on their head.
And you don't want that on your conscience.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, if it's a justified use of deadly force, I think that Jesus is okay with that. So I'm okay with that. But only if I don't have another choice. If I don't have another choice, I don't have another choice, then he's responsible for it. But if I do it just because I can, but not because I must,
no better than them in some sense.
Now I own that morally, and I'm no better than them. So,
and I look at it too. Like I'll do an analogy in the class. I walk in, say, all right, everybody, give me your money. I don't want to shoot anybody. I want to hurt anybody. Don't you be a hero. And then I'll go, can you shoot me? And well, no. Well, why not? Well, because you're not pointing it at me. I'm like, it's too late. You underreacted. I said. But you don't want to overreact. That's why you're giving that answer. I'm like, you can. But if you got the element of surprise, tactical ambush, counter ambush, can you verbalize to get the person to drop the gun? Because if it's a fake gun and they're doing it because their kids got cancer, I'm going to sleep a lot better at night that I didn't shoot them and they gave up.
Yeah, it depends on how I perceive it. Oh, geez, that guy's threatening me with a gun. If I don't shoot him, he's going to kill me. Okay, I believe you. You're going to kill me, so I got to do what I got to do.
And if you can articulate it to where others would agree, yeah. So I'd love to continue this, but I know you have a schedule and we have someone coming up here. So before we wrap it up, I'd just like to say thank you. You gave us some advice earlier on, and it may not have seemed like much to you at the time, but you invested a little bit of time with us, and I want to
So-
thank you for that because it was very helpful.
Absolutely, my
So
pleasure.
Here we are, what, our 8th year now?
Yeah, 8th year on our show.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you guys. Not very many people make it that far in the industry. I was just reflecting on the fact that I've been teaching firearms for 15 years now.
Wow.
And I'm like, at some point we moved from, being the new kids to being the KG veterans. And you're like,
Yeah.
wow, I guess I'm the old guy on the block now. Man. All right.
We're the
When
soon to be OG.
when did you start PSNN?
12, 13 years ago?
Yeah.
I started Trigger Presses Unit in 13. And I was teaching for a year or two before that as just Clint, the instructor.
Yeah. So, and you think about that, the titans of the industry, the Clint Smiths and the Masada Eubes and the Tom Givens, they started at some point too.
Yeah.
And then at some point we take the reins or, the baton from them and we pass it on to the next generation. So my goal is just to take it with as much speed as I can, with as much courage as I can, and pass it on better than I left it, than I found it. So,
Well, I consider you a good friend, and I appreciate everything you do for us. And keep up the
Appreciate
good
you
work.
guys.
Keep
You guys
educating
too.
people. And make sure you check out our show on the ASP Unlimited app, as well as you get a 1-year membership of ASP Unlimited if you win in the giveaway. So
Yay.
meetthepressers.com/giveaways. You'll be here the rest of the day today.
the whole day today and teaching it this afternoon.
Good. So definitely check out John's. Clint and I both have classes this afternoon too. So if you're at the NRA Annual Meetings and Exhibits 2026 in Houston, Texas, stop by, check us out.
Stay armed and be well regulated.